You know, in politics, it's often the quietest moves that end up being the most important, the ones you barely even notice. And today, we're going to dig into a really compelling analysis that says a recent, seemingly small announcement from Donald Trump, well, it wasn't just about policy. It was actually the opening move in a huge chess match for the 2028 election.
I mean, think about it. It's so easy to just scroll right past a headline about some new government task force, right? It sounds kind of boring. But what if that tiny announcement was actually the key to unlocking a much, much bigger plan? Well, according to the analysis we're breaking down today, that is exactly what just happened.
And this all brings up a really fascinating puzzle for any political leader, right? How do you make sure your movement lives on after you're gone? Do you just pick someone and name them as your successor? This analysis says no, that's not the way. You don't anoint anyone. Instead, you create a competition, and you let the best candidate win.
Okay, so what was this opening move? It was the creation of a new task force on government fraud, and it's being led by Senator JD Vance. Now look, on the surface, that sounds like pretty standard Washington stuff. Another committee, another task force. But the analysis we're looking at says, hold on, look a little closer. This isn't really about the task force's mission. It's about who was chosen, and more importantly, why.
Yeah, see, this whole thing isn't actually about trimming the budget or government waste. The core argument here, the main idea, is that this one move strategically puts two potential successors, Marco Rubio and JD Vance, onto two completely different tracks. You can think of it like a test, with the big prize at the end being the 2028 nomination.
And man, these two paths could not be more different. On one side, you've got Marco Rubio, who's being set up as the statesman. His job? To navigate the super high-stakes, high-risk world of foreign policy. And then on the other side, you've got JD Vance, playing the part of the crusader. He's fighting a very public domestic battle against fraud. And that's a mission that's basically designed for steady, headline-grabbing wins.
All right, so let's dig into Rubio's role first, the statesman's gambit. The idea here is that he's been placed right in the middle of what the source is calling one of the most volatile geopolitical moments in recent memory. This is not a safe, cushy assignment. This is a massive gamble.
Just think about the world he's playing in. Global crises, crazy energy prices, alliances that could shift at any moment, and of course, the constant risk of some conflict escalating. These are huge, huge events with enormous consequences, and a lot of it is totally outside of his control. But guess what? His entire political future is now tied directly to how it all shakes out, for better or for worse.
So for Rubio, there's really no middle ground here. It's totally binary. If global events start to calm down, he comes out of this looking like a brilliant statesman, the natural heir apparent. But if conflicts drag on and the costs start piling up, his position becomes what the source calls an absolute anchor. It's hero or zero, plain and simple.
Okay, now let's pivot to the other side of the chessboard. While Rubio is out there navigating all these international storms, JD Vance has a mission that's completely domestic. He's been given a quest, basically, hunt down government waste and corruption.
And this quote right here, something Trump mentioned almost as a throwaway line, is what the source identifies as the entire thesis for the next election. It's the central message of Vance's whole mission, and it is incredibly powerful. The question is, why?
Well, here's the twist. According to this analysis, this isn't really about balancing the budget. The power of that line has almost nothing to do with accounting or spreadsheets. It's a strategic message, and it's designed to completely reframe the entire conversation we have about the economy. It all comes down to a concept called framing. See, instead of having a painful debate about austerity or budget cuts or raising taxes, things nobody likes, the argument becomes something emotionally unifying. It's not about sacrifice anymore. It's about justice. The message is super simple. Someone is stealing from you, and we are going to stop them.
And this mission is absolutely designed to have teeth. The source points out that Trump was very specific, saying this would not be a ceremonial task force. Vance has a clear mandate to go out there, find fraud relentlessly and publicly, and create a constant stream of outrage and headlines. You know, like that story about billions being stolen from programs in Minneapolis? He literally becomes the face of accountability.
Okay, so we've got our two main players, each on their own distinct mission. Now let's pull the camera back and look at the entire board. How does this whole setup actually shape the political battlefield for 2028?
According to this analysis, it's basically a 4-step strategy for building a successor without ever saying that's what you're doing. Step 1, you assign them these distinct, high-profile missions. Step 2, you let them go out and build a public record of wins. Step 3, you test them. You let them face the possibility of failure. And finally, Step 4, their actual performance on that mission becomes the core argument for their campaign. It's basically a political primary, just by another name.
Just imagine the kind of argument this creates. By the time 2028 rolls around, Vance can stand up on a debate stage and say something like, "We stopped the biggest theft in American history." Then he can turn to an opponent, say a Governor Newsom, and ask a really simple but devastating question. So, where did all the money go in your state? He's not just making an argument, he becomes the argument.
But there's one final condition. A single variable that, according to this analysis, could determine whether this whole intricate strategy actually succeeds or if it all just falls apart.
It doesn't matter how well Rubio handles foreign policy or how much fraud Vance manages to uncover. The success of this entire succession plan hangs on one single external factor that is, when you get right down to it, completely out of their direct control.
And that factor? It's the economy. The source is really clear on this. If people feel good, if they're working, and inflation is cooled off, then that stop the theft narrative becomes, and I'm quoting here, gasoline on a moving engine. It just supercharges an already positive feeling. But if the economy is struggling, then even the most compelling story about corruption and theft might not be enough to win people over. So there you have it. The board is set. 2 very different pieces have been put on 2 very different missions, and each one is a potential path to the presidency. According to this analysis, a quiet game of chess has just begun. And the question that leaves us with is, which path will actually lead to victory?